right now, as we're talking, there's an executive or maybe a founder or just a really high-ticket potential client sitting on their couch.
Yep, probably trying to unwind after a long day.
Exactly. And they are picking up their TV remote, but they aren't opening Netflix to watch a movie. They aren't clicking on Hulu. They're opening the YouTube app on this massive, 65-inch screen, specifically to watch a highly detailed 60-minute breakdown on something super niche, like supply chain logistics or B2B marketing strategies.
It's wild. It's a complete shift.
It is.
Yep.
The living room TV has just quietly, almost invisibly become, arguably the most powerful professional marketing channel out there right now.
It really shatters that old paradigm, doesn't it? Like how we used to think professionals consumed information.
Yeah, the whole morning commute thing.
Right, exactly. For the longest time, the assumption was always that B2B content, business-to-business education, was strictly for the car ride to work.
Just audio, playing at 1.5 speed while you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah, or maybe it was just a text article you skimmed on your phone while waiting for a meeting to start. But the data we're pulling from our sources for today's deep dive, it shows this massive behavioral shift.
People are actively choosing educational video content as evening entertainment.
Exactly. They come home and they want deep, industry-specific video content.
So if you are listening to this right now, maybe you're an entrepreneur or a consultant trying to build some authority in your space, you've probably felt this shift, right? You know you need to be capturing that long-form attention.
But the reality of trying to actually do it is usually a nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. Because, we romanticize the idea of building a business like it's this automated factory.
Right, the perfect assembly line.
Yeah. You imagine doing all this upfront heavy lifting, you design the machines, you calibrate the belts, and then you just flip a switch and it runs.
Generating leads while you sleep.
Yes. But if you look at how most creators are actually handling their content right now, it's the total opposite of an automated factory.
It's a manual, just exhausting, hand-cranked operation.
You're doing a quick video here, typing out some frantic LinkedIn posts there.
Trying to throw a newsletter together at midnight.
Exactly. You are the product and the marketer and the manufacturer all at once, and you're just constantly feeding this beast that demands more content every single day.
Which is pretty much the fastest road to complete burnout.
It really is. And, that brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. We have gathered a massive stack of sources today.
Yeah, we've got strategic blueprints, transcripts, expert guides from folks like Lemon Pie, Wes McDowell, Riverside, Fame, and Alish Kaladi.
And our goal here is to really just extract the complete start-to-finish life cycle of a modern video podcast. Because when it's engineered correctly, a video podcast actually is that automated factory.
It really is the ultimate leverage engine. It captures that deep attention on the TV, and it fuels your short-form social media at the same time.
Right. But before we get into the gears of this factory, before we talk about cameras or microphones or editing, you have to lay the foundation.
You have to know who's walking through the front door.
Exactly. You have to pick your niche. And man, this is where so many well-funded projects just completely faceplant before episode 1.
Oh, totally. Because people have this, innate desire to appeal to absolutely everyone.
They don't want to leave anyone out.
Right. But if you try to be a generalist in today's landscape, you're just going to be invisible.
So why is going broad such a death sentence for a B2B creator?
Well, let's look at the economics of it. Say you're a seasoned bookkeeper, right?
Right.
And you decide, I'm going to start a general finance and money podcast.
Okay. Sounds reasonable on paper.
Sure. But the second you launch, who are you competing against? You're up against massive legacy networks. You're competing with the Wall Street Journal or, celebrities with multi-million-dollar budgets.
Right. And their monetization model is completely different from yours.
Exactly.
Like broad entertainment style shows, they monetize through CPM ads cost per 1,000 listens. They need hundreds of thousands of downloads a week just to make a little bit of money reading a promo code for a mattress company.
Right, or a meal kit. It's a volume game for them.
But a B2B creator isn't playing a volume game.
No, not at all. If you're a consultant or an agency owner, you monetize through high-ticket client acquisition. You don't need a stadium of 100,000 random people.
But we just need the right conference room.
Exactly. 50 highly qualified decision makers is all you need.
And that's where the whole spearfishing concept comes in. Wes McDowell's philosophy in our sources outlines this perfectly. He says your niche should be a filter, not a limiter.
I love that framing. A filter, not a limiter.
Yeah. So going back to that bookkeeper, instead of a general finance show, what if they start a video podcast called Financial Systems for Freelance Graphic Designers?
Boom. The whole dynamic changes instantly.
Right. You've eliminated 99% of your competition.
And you've created this beacon for a super high-intent audience. If a freelance graphic designer sees that title, they don't just feel mildly interested. They feel like you engineered this content specifically to solve their pain points.
And if you capture 1,000 of those perfect fit listeners, I mean, that is infinitely more valuable than 100,000 generic ones.
Absolutely, because if just one or two of those 1,000 decide to hire you, that could be a $50,000 or $100,000 contract.
But, figuring out that spearfish niche isn't something you can just guess at.
No, you can't just sit in a dark room and brainstorm it.
Right. So the sources from Alicia Galati and Lemon Pie, they strongly emphasize market research. And they recommend a really specific method. You don't survey the broad market, you survey your own happiest clients.
And people might ask, why just the happiest ones? Is it just to, stroke your own ego?
I mean, maybe a little bit.
Right. But really, it's because you want to clone them. Your most profitable, lowest maintenance clients are the exact demographic you're trying to attract.
So you get 10 to 30 of them on a brief call, or you send a highly targeted survey.
But you don't ask them what kind of podcasts they want to listen to. People are terrible at predicting their own habits.
Yeah, they'll say they want to listen to deep philosophy and then go watch cat videos.
Exactly. So instead, you ask about their daily operational frustrations. What are their bottlenecks?
And Lemon Pie suggests this brilliant psychological question. They say you should ask, if you could have a 1-hour private coffee with any business leader in the world, who would it be, and what's the one question you would ask them?
That is just so smart, because it bypasses all the polite, generic answers.
Right. It gets straight to the core of what they perceive as authority and the exact knowledge gap they are desperate to fill.
So if 5 of your clients all say they want to ask someone about scaling remote agency culture, well, there's the overarching theme for your first season.
But okay, let's talk about the timeline, because establishing this niche, it requires a massive reality check.
Yeah, Lemon Pie talks a lot about managing expectations here.
If you're thinking, I'm going to launch this targeted show and by month 2 my calendar will be flooded with sales calls, you are setting yourself up for disaster.
Total disappointment. Because the sources suggest you need to commit to this for the better part of a full year. 12 entire months just to start seeing a tangible ROI.
Right, and I have to push back on this on behalf of our listeners. Because if I'm a B2B marketing director or a founder watching my runway shrink...
Your CFO is going to be knocking on your door.
Exactly. By month 3, they're marching in demanding to pull the plug if I can't show direct revenue. How do you justify a 12-month runway?
It's probably the most common friction point in B2B marketing. And it really comes down to the difference between leading indicators and lagging indicators.
Okay, break that down for me.
Direct revenue is a lagging indicator. It takes time to build parasocial trust.
That feeling where the listener feels like they actually know you.
Right. They've spent hours with you in their living room or in their headphones. You can't hack that trust. It just requires time.
So what's the leading indicator to keep the CFO happy in month 2?
It's the sheer volume of high-quality assets the podcast produces. The podcast is a content flywheel.
Oh, right. Because even if the listen count is low at first, that weekly recording is the raw material for everything else.
Exactly. It fuels your entire marketing department. It gives you newsletter content, SEO articles, sales enablement collateral, and dozens of short-form social clips.
You're replacing the manual creation of all that stuff with one focused conversation.
Right. So you aren't just funding a podcast. You're funding the centralized engine for your entire digital footprint.
Okay, that definitely makes it an easier pill to swallow. But what about the content itself? Like if I narrow my focus down to tax strategies for commercial real estate agents in the Pacific Northwest.
Very specific.
Very specific. Aren't I going to run out of things to talk about by episode 10? It feels like a tiny box.
It's a natural fear. But in practice, breadth leads to shallow, finite content. Depth provides an infinite well of material.
Really? How so?
Well, when you're hyper-focused on commercial real estate tax strategies, you don't just give the generic top 10 tips and quit. Every single new IRS regulation becomes a dedicated, urgent episode.
Oh, I see.
Every specific hurdle a client faces with cost segregation studies or some nuanced software update, those become highly valuable topics. You're solving persistent, evolving problems.
You basically become their outsourced research department.
Exactly. They tune in because you are doing the heavy lifting for them.
Okay, so we've nailed the foundation. We know the listener. We know the pain points. We've committed to a year. Now we have to build the physical space for the factory.
Yes, the gear.
And the good news from all our sources is that you do not need a second mortgage for this.
The era of needing a $50,000 Hollywood setup is totally over. We're aiming for the middle ground strategy.
You don't need cinema cameras, but you definitely can't rely on a grainy laptop webcam.
No, and definitely not an echoing empty conference room. You have to signal professionalism.
So let's talk mechanics, starting with the camera. And this is going to be a huge relief for a lot of people. The consensus is that the smartphone in your pocket is perfectly fine to start.
The sensors and the computational photography in modern smartphones are just staggering. They're light years ahead of those tiny laptop webcams.
The trick is just how you use it, right? Like you don't hold it in your hand.
Right, you get a basic tripod or a MagSafe mount that attaches right above your laptop screen at eye level.
And software-wise, it's so easy now. Apple has continuity camera, Windows has similar workarounds. Your computer just wirelessly recognizes your phone as the webcam.
Pristine, high-res video without buying any new equipment.
But say you do want to upgrade, you've got a budget. The sources highlight one specific camera, the Sony ZV-E10.
The undisputed champion of the mid-range mirrorless category. Runs about $800 with a lens.
Why that one? What makes a mirrorless camera actually better than a top-tier iPhone?
It comes down to physics. A smartphone has a tiny sensor, so it fakes the background blur using software.
Which sometimes looks weird around your hair or ears.
Exactly. But a mirrorless camera, like the ZV-E10, has a massive physical sensor and real glass lenses. It gathers more light, gives a cleaner image, and creates true optical depth of field.
Bokeh.
Right, bokeh. Where you are perfectly crisp in the foreground and the background just gracefully blurs away.
Which visually separates you from the distractions in your room and forces the viewer to focus on you. But as great as that camera is, our sources are absolutely adamant that it is completely secondary to audio.
Audio is non-negotiable. If you take away one technical rule today, audio is exponentially more critical than video.
I always explain it like this. Your podcast is a house. The audio is the concrete foundation, and the video lighting is the curb appeal.
I love that analogy.
You can have a mansion, but if the foundation is crumbling, no one is walking inside.
And that's exactly how our brains process media. A lot of your audience might minimize the browser tab to answer an email or listen on Spotify while walking the dog. The video is irrelevant then.
But even when they are watching, bad audio is actively destructive to your brand, isn't it?
Yes, it's a psychoacoustics thing. When audio is muffled, echoing, or cutting out, the listener's brain has to work overtime just to decipher the words.
It creates cognitive load.
Right. Zoom fatigue. They won't know why they feel exhausted, but they'll subconsciously associate your voice and your brand with frustration.
And they just click away. Listeners will forgive grainy video if you're dropping gold insights. But if you look like a movie star and sound like you're trapped in a swimming pool...
They're gone in 5 seconds.
So how do we fix it without buying expensive acoustic panels?
The Riverside Guide gives a very clear upgrade path. First, do not use the mic built into your laptop or your wireless earbuds.
Because they pick up everything.
Everything. The AC, the neighbor's dog. You need a dedicated directional microphone. They say start with a $70 USB mic, like the Samson Q2U.
$70 is a crazy low barrier to entry.
It is. It's a dynamic microphone, meaning it's less sensitive than those fancy condenser mics you see in music studios.
Which is exactly what you want for a home office.
Exactly. It only picks up the sound directly in front of it, your voice. It plugs right in via USB.
And if you want to invest in gear you'll keep for 5 years, the sources all point to the Shure MV7 Plus Cs. It's about $300, has USB and XLR connections, and gives you that rich, broadcast-quality radio voice.
So now you sound authoritative. Next, we have to fix the curb appeal. We need to talk about lighting.
Because relying on a fluorescent office light is a disaster.
Oh, it's terrible. And the Riverside Guide has this hilarious term for the alternative, the Phantom of the Opera look.
Yes, when you sit sideways to a bright window and half your face is beautifully lit and the other half is in total dramatic darkness.
You look like you're about to reveal a tragic secret.
Not explain B2B marketing strategies. So to fix this, we need 3-point lighting.
The industry standard geometry for making a human look professional and three-dimensional on a 2D screen.
Okay, break down the geometry. Point 1 is the key light. But if I just blast a light straight at my face from behind the camera, I look washed out and I get terrible glare on my glasses.
Placement is everything. You want the key light roughly 45 degrees to the side of your face, elevated, pointing down at a 45-degree angle.
Why that specific angle?
It drops the reflections out of your glasses and it casts natural shadows under your chin and cheekbones, mimicking the sun outdoors. It gives your face structure.
The sources mention the Amaran 200X for this, about $280. But you don't just point the raw LED bulb at yourself, right?
No, naked LEDs create harsh shadows that highlight every pore. You have to pair it with a modifier, like a softbox or a light dome,
which diffuses the light so it wraps around your face. Okay, so I've got my key light at an angle, but now the other side of my face is in shadow. I don't want the phantom look. Do I just put a second key light on the other side?
No. If you blast equal light from both sides, your face becomes completely flat and featureless. You need shadows for depth.
So that's point 2, the fill light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Placed opposite the key light, its only job is to gently fill in the darkest shadows so they aren't pitch black. It should be maybe 20 or 30% as powerful.
You could even just use a white wall or a piece of foam board to bounce light back, right?
Absolutely. That works perfectly.
Which brings us to point 3, and I guarantee 90% of amateurs ignore this one, the hair light.
Also known as the rim light. You mount this behind you, elevated, pointing down at the back of your head and shoulders.
But the camera can't see the light hitting my face from back there. What's the point?
It draws a subtle, bright outline around your silhouette. Without it, if you're in a dark shirt in a dark room, you blend into the background like a flat sticker.
The hair light separates you. It tells the viewer's brain, this person occupies 3D space.
It's a subtle trick that elevates production value instantly.
And speaking of backgrounds, you don't need neon signs and fancy bookshelves. Riverside shared a great trick for a boring spare bedroom with plain white walls.
Plain white walls are the enemy of depth.
So you use colored LED lights, like a Philips Hue sign floor lamp or cheap LED strips, and you paint the wall with white.
Hide it behind your desk, splash a warm orange or corporate blue against the wall, and it creates instant mood and atmosphere.
But let's pause. Why do we care about 45-degree angles and blue lights? Is it just vanity?
Not at all. It's about conversion.
Yes.
It comes back to B2B psychology. When a potential client clicks your video, before you even speak, their brain subconsciously processes the lighting and audio clarity. Good production signals authority.
It silently communicates, this person is a professional. They take their craft seriously.
It bypasses logical filtering and builds immediate trust.
It's the digital equivalent of wearing a perfectly tailored suit to a pitch.
Exactly.
Okay, so you look and sound like a titan. But all that here is completely useless if you fall victim to the silent killer of the podcasting industry. Pod fade.
Ah, pod fade. The graveyard of good intentions.
The stats are brutal. Alicia Galati and Wes McDowell both highlight that the vast majority of podcasters quit around episode 20 or 25. Many don't even make it past episode 7.
Because the weekly grind just crushes them. It turns a fun project into a second full-time job.
Because they're operating that manual, hand-cranked factory. Like Tuesday, you scramble for a topic. Wednesday, you spend 30 minutes setting up lights, record for an hour, break it all down.
Thursday, you spend 4 hours agonizing over the edit.
Friday, you write show notes. And then Monday, you wake up and realize you have to do it all over again. There's no leverage.
Right. So the solution is systematic batching. You completely divorce the act of recording from your weekly publishing schedule.
You never record week to week.
Never. You block out one single day a month, just one. Prior to that, you outline 4 to 8 episodes. You get into writer mode. Then on recording day, you turn on those perfect lights and record all of them back to back.
And the psychological shift here is profound because of the cognitive switching penalty.
Right. Switching from writing to lighting to performing exhausts you. Batching groups identical tasks. You enter a state of flow. By episode 3, you're more relaxed and confident.
And the relief afterward is incredible. You aren't in a constant state of background panic chasing a Friday deadline.
You transition from stressed laborer to strategic director. You have a vault of content ready to go.
Lemon Pie recommends having a full 2 months of episodes fully produced before you even announce the launch.
An 8-week buffer. It's an insurance policy. Life happens. You get sick. A client crisis hits. A guest cancels. If you're week to week, you miss an upload and the algorithm penalizes you.
With the buffer, you can be sick in bed for a week and the factory just keeps running.
But to make batching feasible, especially with guests, you have to use the right recording infrastructure. Both West McDowell and Riverside mandate local recording software, not Zoom.
Oh, this is huge. If you use Zoom or Teams, you're sabotaging your production value.
Zoom is engineered for real-time synchronous communication over unpredictable internet. To avoid a 2-second delay, it aggressively compresses the audio and video.
It chops off frequencies and degrades resolution.
And if your internet blips, that glitch is permanently recorded. The final file is a fragile artifact.
But a platform like Riverside operates differently. It's a local recording tool.
Right. It uses the full power of your camera and mic to record an uncompressed 4K video file directly to your computer's hard drive. And it does the exact same thing on the guest's computer.
It treats your laptop like a cinema camera,
while quietly uploading those files to the cloud in the background. So even if the video lags during the call, the final files you download are flawless synchronized 4K.
Completely immune to internet hiccups. Okay, so you've got these massive files, now you have to edit them. And people freak out here, staring at Adobe Premiere like it's a nuclear submarine control panel.
Keep it simple. We aren't making a Michael Bay movie. Just maintain a natural flow, and AI has revolutionized this.
You don't edit the timeline, you edit the text.
Tools like Descript or Riverside's built-in editor transcribe the conversation in seconds. You get a Word document. If you rambled, you highlight the text, hit delete, and the software cuts the video.
Removes the ums, the ahs, the dead air. With one click, it turns a 4-hour nightmare into a 30-minute proofread.
Now, when you're planning that batching day, you have to choose solo episodes or guests.
They serve completely different functions. A solo episode, where you break down a complex framework, positions you unequivocally as the authority.
Deep trust, proven competence. But solo episodes are hard to grow organically. If no one knows you, they won't click. That's why guest interviews are the ultimate growth lever.
Wes McDowell calls it the YouTube collab strategy.
Right. Bring a respected guest on, borrow their credibility, they share it with their audience, and you get access to a completely new pool of listeners who already trust your guest.
But there's a danger there. If every episode is an interview, you become Larry King. You're just the person holding the mic. They aren't tuning in for your expertise, so they won't hire your firm.
Exactly. The hybrid approach is best. Guests cast a wide net. Solo episodes convert them into clients.
Okay, major strategic question about batching. If I'm recording episodes today that won't air for 8 weeks, how do I stay timely? What if the Federal Reserve slashes interest rates tomorrow? Won't my content feel oblivious?
That requires a shift in how you view the podcast. You aren't a daily newspaper. B2B video podcasts should focus on evergreen problem solving.
Evergreen, meaning it's valuable regardless of when it's consumed.
Right. The core principles of building financial systems or marketing don't change weekly. Your batched episodes are a core curriculum of timeless value. A library, not a newsfeed.
So what do you do when a massive industry earthquake does happen?
You break the rule, drop in a quick unbatched solo reaction video, turn on the camera, give a raw 5-minute hot take, and upload it immediately as a bonus episode.
It proves you have your finger on the pulse, but the backbone of the show is handled by the evergreen content.
You're building an enduring asset.
All right, so the factory is built. We have the niche, the gear, the batching workflow. But if you just hit publish and cross your fingers, crickets.
Build it and they will come is a lie. We have to build the discovery engine.
We have to rewire how we think about distribution. For a decade, everyone obsessed over Apple Podcasts. But traditional audio apps do almost nothing for organic discovery.
Apple Podcasts is just an RSS feed reader, a directory. It's a library without a card catalog or librarians. If they don't know your exact name, they won't find you.
But YouTube and Spotify are fundamentally different.
YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. They function as aggressive algorithmic recommendation engines.
If Apple is the empty library, YouTube is an aggressive librarian tapping you on the shoulder, shoving relevant books into your hands.
But to trigger that algorithm, you have to feed it the right metadata. The algorithm can only read text, and that starts with your titles.
The golden rule is clear over clever. People used to treat titles like abstract poetry.
Or an internal filing system.
If you title your video Episode 47, A Conversation with John Doe, you've committed digital arson. No one is searching for Episode 47.
You have to speak the language of the search engine. Keyword-rich, solution-oriented. Instead of Episode 47, title it, How to Get 10 High-Paying Clients a Month on LinkedIn.
Because that's what a stressed professional is actively searching for at 2 a.m.
Exactly. And you don't have to guess these phrases. Use YouTube search autocomplete. Open an incognito window, type how to reduce sauce churn, and see what drops down.
That's Google handing you the test answers. You can also use tools like vidIQ or TubeBuddy to see exact monthly search volumes and find gaps in the market.
Reverse engineer the pain points. And once you have the title, you need a compelling thumbnail.
This is where so many experts drop the ball. It's the first point of contact. A great thumbnail needs 3 psychological triggers. Invoke curiosity or show a result, feature large readable text, and include a human face.
Right, because a lot of people are looking on tiny 6-inch phone screens.
Yeah.
And we are biologically wired to make eye contact with faces.
But there's a huge track here. Do not just retype your video title into the thumbnail text.
Such a waste of space.
If the title is How to Reduce Sauce Churn, the thumbnail shouldn't say the exact same thing. They are a team telling a story.
The thumbnail text should be the emotional hook. Like, keep users forever, or stop bleeding revenue. It grabs their attention, and the title confirms the tactical solution.
And while we're optimizing metadata, we cannot forget show notes. The SEO guide from Fame was incredibly emphatic about this. People treat show notes like an afterthought.
Which is a fundamental misunderstanding of the internet. Google's crawlers can't listen to your audio. They can only read text.
Fame says treat your show notes as highly optimized blog posts.
Take the AI-generated transcript, embed it on your site, but format it. Use timestamps. Break it up with H2 and H3 subheadings.
HTML heading tags, the skeleton of the web page. If your H2 subheading includes the exact keyword phrase, you're signaling to Google that your page is the definitive answer.
It transforms an audiovisual asset into a text asset that ranks on page 1 of Google for years.
It's like a restaurant. The title and thumbnail are the neon sign. If it just says Building 47, people drive past. If it says Best Pizza in Town and you format SEO so they can smell the garlic from 3 blocks away, they walk in.
Perfect visualization.
Yeah.
And the best part is the compounding interest of SEO.
Right. A tweet dies in 12 hours. A well-optimized YouTube video answers a specific query and can attract leads for years. It quietly generates trust while you sleep.
But you can't only rely on inbound traffic. You have to actively hunt for listeners, which brings us to the final phase, atomization and systematic distribution.
The true leverage of the automated factory. You can't just drop a link on LinkedIn saying, listen to my podcast and walk away.
The platforms punish you for external links. They want users to stay on their app.
You have to atomize the content. Shatter that 60-minute rock into a dozen platform-native pieces. 5 to 10 vertical short-form clips plus written content.
3 years ago, this was a manual nightmare in Premiere Pro. Now, AI clipping tools like Opus Clip, Cutback, or Riverside's Magic Clips do it all.
You feed the massive file into the AI, hit a button, and get a coffee.
The AI scans the transcript for scroll-stopping moments. High concentration of emotional words, surprising stats, bold claims. It isolates the clip, crops it to 9.16 vertical, centers your face, and auto-generates dynamic captions.
It does the work of a full-time social media editor in 5 minutes, but you still have to review them because the AI doesn't always understand context. A viral B2B clip needs a specific anatomy.
The hook is everything. The first 3 seconds, it must open with massive value or a provocative claim, and it needs a specific call to action.
Not listen to my podcast. Hear the full strategy for retaining talent at the link in the comments.
Now, regarding distribution, specifically for B2B decision makers on LinkedIn, Neil Shater's insights are essential. He says you should use the LinkedIn newsletter format.
This is a cheat code right now. You use AI to restructure the transcript into a 700-word article.
And then the magic trick. LinkedIn integrates deeply with Spotify. You paste the Spotify link, and it embeds a playable audio widget right in the text.
The user can listen while scrolling. The algorithm loves it because they stay on the platform.
And when someone subscribes to the newsletter, you can see their profile, their job title, their company.
Which lets you send hyper-personalized connection requests. It's the ultimate B2B growth hack.
But we also have to talk about short-form platforms like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. B2B professionals often get uncomfortable here.
Right. If I'm a Fortune 500 consultant, should I really be on TikTok? Isn't it just teenage dance challenges? Doesn't it degrade my brand?
That's an outdated understanding. These platforms are the most ruthless recommendation engines ever built. Facebook is a social graph based on your friends. TikTok is an interest graph.
It analyzes exactly what you linger on and learns your deepest interests in real time.
So it's phenomenally good at finding micro niches. If you post a highly technical tax loophole video, it tests it on a few teenagers, they swipe away so it pivots. Suddenly, it's serving your video directly to thousands of accountants and CFOs globally.
It acts as the top of your funnel, driving massive awareness back to your long-form YouTube channel.
Look at the leverage of this whole system. One afternoon a month, 4 long videos. AI generates 40 clips. You make 4 LinkedIn newsletters.
To the outside world, you appear completely omnipresent. It looks like you have a staff of 10 people working around the clock.
But really, you just sat in front of the camera once. You spend the rest of the month actually running your business and closing leads.
It is the definition of a burnout-proof strategy. Maximum ROI, minimal ongoing labor.
The automated factory realized.
So if you're listening to this and feeling a knot in your stomach because you have a $3,000 camera gathering dust, take a deep breath. Your workflow was the problem.
Recap the blueprint. Define your spearfish niche. Set up middle ground gear with a great mic and 3-point lighting. Batch record evergreen content 1 day a month.
Treat YouTube as a search engine with keyword-rich titles. And atomize it with AI for systematic distribution.
But the most important step is simply starting. You don't need the expensive camera today. Your phone, a cheap mic, and a window are enough to get reps in.
Execution bridges the gap between theory and reality. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We started by talking about consumer behavior shifting to the living room TV.
It's a seismic shift.
Consider the trajectory over the next few years. What if the concept of an audio-only podcast becomes entirely obsolete for B2B creators? What if professional development shifts completely to watching cinematic, highly produced educational shows on our TVs?
It fundamentally changes the required skill set for thought leaders.
If the living room TV becomes the new boardroom, how would that change the way you present yourself to your clients tomorrow? Are you ready to be on that screen?
Mastering this video workflow now isn't just a trend. It's essential to future-proof your brand.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Go outline your niche, build your factory, stay curious, and we will catch you next time.